Hi everyone, welcome to our week 6 lesson, which is about the trigonometric identities. In our previous video, we graphed the functions, the circular functions, including its inverses. So this time we're going to tackle a short glimpse about trigonometric identities. But before we define a trigonometric identities, we must know first if an equation is an identity or a conditional. What is the difference between the two? Kung may tawag identity, it means that for any values of x substituted to the equation, it will yield to the answer that is stated there in the equation. While when you say conditional equation, it is only the equation is only true for some particular values of x. So here I want you to introduce to the common or frequently used identities. So we have the tangent, so cotangent, secant, cosecant in terms of sine and cosine. So these are what we call the reciprocal identities. We also have the Pythagorean identities. You also have this one, the complement identities, the periodicity identities, the negative angle identities, the Ptolemy's identities, double angle formulas for sine and cosine. We're gonna use these identities in getting the values of x or in solving for the certain values of x. So now let's first differentiate the conditional equation from the identity. So let's have an example. Let's determine whether the equation, which is sine squared x plus cosine squared x equals 1, is an identity or a conditional equation. In order to classify them as identity or conditional, we must try to substitute any values of x. If it is true that any values of x will yield the answer equals 1, it means that identity siya. Pero kung dili gali siya mo equal sa 1, or there are some values of x nga i-substitute diri sa equation and dili mo equal to 1 ang answer, therefore that is a conditional equation. So let's take for example, if our x is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so we get the value first of sine 90, which is 1, and we square that answer, plus the value of cosine 90 is 0, so 0 squared, it is still 0. So we obtain 1 plus 0, and that is equal to 1. We cannot say yet nga identity siya because it is true for x is equal to 90 degrees. So let us try another value of x. So let us say 45 degrees. So if we substitute sine 45 degrees, the answer is square root of 2 over 5. Well, the answer of cosine 45 is square root of 2 over, that's not over 5, but square root of 2 over 2. So when we squared square root of 2 over 2, the result is 1/2. Since sine and cosine 45 degrees have the same value, therefore we can just add or multiply 1/2 by 2. So 1/2 times 2, that would be equal to 1. So therefore it is also true if x is equal to 45 degrees. So I think we can now say that this equation, sine squared x plus cosine squared x, is an identity. So if you want to know more, because if you're not contented with these two values, you may try another values of x. If it resulted to 1, then that is an identity. Okay, so let's try another equation. 2 cosine x plus 1 equals 0. Let us determine whether this equation is an identity or a conditional equation. So let's try substituting x is equal to 60 degrees. So cosine x is equal to 1/2 times 2, so we have 1. So 1 plus 1 equals 0, but then 2 is not equal to 0. Therefore, we can, by just having this one substitution or one values of x nga atong gi-substitute, we can already conclude that this equation is a conditional equation because it is not true for all values of x. So you notice that if a random variable x is substituted to the given equation, it fails to satisfy the equality. So this is the conditional equation. Okay, so since this is a conditional equation, what could be those particular values of x that can make this equation true? So this is the time that we are going to solve for its particular value that will really solve its equation, all that will really satisfy the equation. So how do we solve for this equation? So we have just 2 cosine x. So just the same with solving an algebraic expression, that will be equal to -1. So we will treat cosine x as our one variable. So we will divide now both sides by 2 to get the value of cosine x. So therefore, cosine x is equal to -1/2. Okay, so our concern here is to find the values of x, not the cosine x. So we're just going to identify the values of x, the cosine x, where -1/2 ang iyahang value. So take note that our cosine x is the x coordinate in the Cartesian plane or in our unit circle. So if mag-base ta sa ato ang unit circle, we can say that our x could be the value of that can be located in our second and third quadrant kung asa mag-negative ang atong x. So those values nga naayo -1/2 ang iyang cosine x are the angles 120 degrees and 240 degrees. Okay, so there are also other ways in order to solve for x. We can just have x is just equal to the cosine inverse here times 1/2. So it will give us x is equal to 120 degrees. There are also cases that you will be asked how many or what are the values that will satisfy the equation. So that's why we can give also to the 40 degrees or and other multiples of 120 degrees, as long as they are located on the second and the third quadrant.